Police in Egypt have arrested a prominent activist accused of calling for protests in defiance of a new law restricting demonstrations. The blogger Alaa Abdul Fattah took part in a rally outside the Upper House of Parliament on Tuesday. Protesters were calling for the repeal of a new law that bans unauthorized demonstrations. Mr Abdel Fattah played a leading role in the 2011 revolt against Hosni Mubarak. It's an honor to hold responsibility for people's rallies in defiance to legalizing the return of the rule of Hosni Mubarak, Alaa Abdul Fattah, Egyptian activist. The pro-democracy campaigner was previously detained under Mr Mubarak's government and questioned over demonstrations against the Muslim Brotherhood earlier this year. Prior notification, his family said he was arrested on Thursday night at his home in Cairo. His father, prominent lawyer Ahmed Saif al-Islam, told the Associated Press that his son's wife was beaten during the raid and that authorities seized laptops from the house. Egypt's new legislation, signed by the interim president Abdel, bans protests that do not have prior police notification. Activists say the new law appears stricter than those in place during the rule of Hosni Mubarak, who was forced to step down in 2011 after mass protests. Prosecutors announced on Wednesday that arrest warrants had been issued for Mr Abdel Fattah along with Ahmed Mar, head of the 6 April youth movement. They said investigations showed the pair had incited people to violate the protest law by demonstrating outside the Shura Council building. Mr Abdel Fattah said he did not deny the charge. It's an honor to hold responsibility for people's rallies in defiance to legalizing the return of the rule of Hosni Mubarak, the longtime president ousted in Egypt's 2011 revolution. He said. Another 24 activists detained at the protest were remanded in custody for 4 days on suspicion of various charges. Heavy prison sentences. Critics say the law effectively replaces the recently expired state of emergency that was declared in mid-August, after hundreds of people were killed when security forces cleared 2 sit-ins in Cairo by supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi. Many people believe the new law is aimed mainly at supporters of Mr Morsi and has now banned Muslim Brotherhood. Mr Morsi was deposed by the military in July after mass protests. The legislation requires organizers of any public gathering, demonstration or meeting of more than 10 people to inform the Interior Ministry 3 days in advance, and gives it the right to prohibit any deemed a threat to security and public order, disrupt citizens' interests or obstruct justice. Police are allowed to forcibly disperse unruly demonstrators and heavy prison sentences are imposed for those who violate the law, including 7 years for the use of violence at a protest, 1 year for covering the face during a protest, and 1 year for protesting outside a place of worship. Anyone attending an unauthorized protest can be fined $1,500, £925. Interim Prime Minister Hosni Mubarak has defended the move, saying, "It is not a law that limits the right to demonstrate, but it aims to protect the right of protesters."